Welcome, ladies. Okay, so we're going to talk about executive leadership. Raise your hand if you're an executive. Okay, and raise your hand if you've ever had any challenges in your executive position. Okay, this is the daily thing, right? You have to do your job, like get done what you have to get done. You have to manage down, you have to manage up, and you have to manage the theme that was talked about. Oh, by the way, I stole this panel from Rocky because I wanted to do it. So sorry. So Rocky did the prep call, and the prep call was all about managing through change. I wasn't on the prep call. Is that about right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk about that and a few other things, but why don't we go down the line and talk about what does change look like for you in your particular sector, segment, and your responsibilities? Let's just start with you, Spring.
Yeah, look, so change as a theme in entertainment is a constant, right? And I'm in between two complete industries. I'm in between the film, streaming world, and I'm in the music industry. And I don't think you could get more change across the board than those two industries, right? And I think change hit the music industry much earlier as far as this iteration. In my opinion, it kind of started with Napster and the sky was falling. But the way that I look at it is we're still here. If there wasn't change in the music industry and the film industry, we'd still have silent movies, right? You can't sign up for these jobs unless you're adaptable. And I think they attribute this to Darwin, and so forgive me if I don't have this right, but the people who sustain and succeed and survive, or the species that survive, are not the strongest, it's the most adaptable, right? And that's a very well-known quote, but I really take that to heart. So every time there's a change, I'm like, well, here we are again. Let's roll.
So I am in the scripted side of a studio, which is fantastic and great, but you guys have all seen there's massive changes right now. And it's exciting, and I think that people talk about, we're in the process of waiting for the change. We're living in the change. It's not going away. So it's, I think as a leader, I talk to my team, and I think we have to be more honest about the projects we have, not so many favor projects, I hate to say it. We have to be very, we have to package projects up. And it is an exciting time, but it's like we have to be honest about our projects. We have to be honest to our sellers. And it's a super fun time because now I'm sort of focusing on fewer projects that I really love, as opposed to we have 70 projects, fingers crossed. Now it's like, no, if I'm taking projects out, I want them to sell. A lot of them are not going to sell, so let's be more pointed. So it's an exciting time, and it's an exciting time for my team too. So that's changed for us.
I love it. Agree with everything these ladies have said. I think, for us, I'm at AMC Networks. I run one of the partnerships under the commercial revenue team. So we're looking after our full portfolio. So living in the gray of what that means for us as a company is really important for us, and creating flexibility and managing partnerships from the linear, and I also came up through the linear side of the business and have transformed into sort of like one of the, responsible for streaming growth. And we talked a lot about that on the prep call, this sort of adaptability and creating this more generalist background for yourselves and for your teams. But I think being able to articulate to our clients that we're doing what we can to protect every part of our business while we're looking toward the future is very important for us, internally and externally, in the way we sort of navigate this changing landscape, as Spring and Tana have both mentioned. Olivia?
I'm not quoting Darwin. I would just say that, so I focus primarily in storytellers, journalism, that space. And I would say that I've been in the business for 35 years, and I would say for 35 years, it was exactly the same. There was a formula. And I made a conscious decision after I left NBC and went to CAA, where they wanted me to venture into different areas. And I said, you know what, I'm actually good at this one thing, and I'm really good at it, and I built really strong relationships. I'm going to double down on that. And then here I am, whatever, 18 years after starting at CAA, and the ability to adapt is going to be what is going to kind of take me into retirement. And I think one of the themes that came up on the call, not to segue, is, I think particularly as women, we have a hard time saying, I don't understand or I don't know. It makes us vulnerable in a room. And all I have done in the last 7 months, really since I transitioned to 3 Arts, is walk into rooms with people who are half my age and say, I don't understand, explain it to me. And I think it's incredibly exciting. And I think that, because if it's not exciting, what is it? It's terrifying. So let's make it exciting. Let's look for opportunity. And I do think that, and I even think, I've got 20-year-old children, what have you, and I think I would have told my children at any given day, focus on something, be good at it, be loyal, stay there for 20 years, it will pay off. And I'm kind of in the mode of businesses don't love you back. They can't. Let's be honest, we're all employee 40538. And the more you understand and the more experiences you have these days, which I think in the past looked like you were flighty, now makes you marketable. So, I hear about this all the time. The music business went first. We're going and we're going fast. So
I think the other thing to remember is that there is so much volatility right now, certainly in film and television, and as we speak, there is another major studio that is being sold, and inevitably there's going to be more jobs that are lost. So I don't really think that we can try to put a rosy spin on that. So I think it's a lot. I actually think your point about adaptability is so important, because there are a lot of people who are not going to be here in the business in 5 years from now. I think that's just a reality. 1 year, a year ago, we wrote a story 2 years ago. The end of last year, there was something like 16,000 jobs that had been lost, and I started my own company, TheWrap, with that kind of. I didn't know if I was on a sinking ship at the time. I was the New York Times, and I didn't know if the New York Times was sinking, but I thought that the New York Times might sink because of things that were outside of the New York Times control, like the business model changing for news, as we were talking about before, about how news was stable for 35 years for you, but 100 years really in newspapers, which is where I was working. I'm not 100, but newspapers are 100. And I thought I just thought I'd rather fail trying to determine my own fate rather than just write one great story and then one day just get a pink slip saying, yes, sorry, we've just been sold to some Mexican, at one point they were taking money from a Mexican billionaire, and now the New York Times is doing great. But I will tell you that when I started TheWrap, and I was at the Times until 2007, till I quit to do this, I had no idea, and nobody had any idea, and there were constant layoffs, and by the way, there have been constant layoffs. So I guess the question is also, when you get up every day, especially for those who are working in the cable space at all, and you're looking at a declining model, how do you get up every day and just think, I'm just going to put my best foot forward for my team? Because you can't lie to your team, they're smart too.
So I was going to say, in the old days, back then, adaptability was pivoting. Okay, I'm a producer. Oh, I'm a writer. I'm a director. I'm an executive. You could pivot. And now the adaptability to me is being honest with your team. There's something exciting about it where you know exactly what Netflix is saying they're looking for. Go get it. Go straight to them and try and sell it. There's something exciting about that, as opposed to let me, as I was saying before, let me have 77 projects and let me sort of see. There's the adaptability to me now is, and I think one of you guys said, is focus. Focus 100% on what you're doing. Be very straightforward with your team. I have a team. You guys probably don't all have tons of teams, but be truthful to those guys, and frankly, be truthful to your talent too, because I have actors and writers and all those sort of people coming and saying oh, we should sell this. I used to kind of pretend oh yeah, maybe. Now I'm you know what, there's two places potentially. You just have to be truthful. So for me, getting up in the morning, that's how I sort of attack my day. And it's so hard and it can be depressing, but there's something so exciting about it too, is how I feel.
I'll say as a representative, so I manage a handful of talent. I talk to them at 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon.
Say who they are, because you know.
Yeah, so like people like
household
people
names.
who host the Today Show, people who are in war zones, so they like those 2 a.m. phone calls. And sadly, I'm awake because I'm 50 something, and that's what happens. And yeah, let's text. And I say to them all the time that. So like, again, since I've transitioned, I'm spending a lot of time. I spent 35 years with the same people that I grew up with, people who run networks, people who book shows, what have you. And I really made a conscious effort about 8 months ago to say, I need to stop hanging out with the same people. I kind of know all the things that they know. And so my clients probably are not getting as much the same attention from me that they once did. And I always gut check with them, like, are you guys good? And they say to me all the time, I'm so happy you're out doing what you're doing because I need to know that you're going to be able to help me do it. And the reality is some of them are probably going to struggle adapting. In particular, this as a journalist. Like, as a journalist, your claim to fame was to be able to talk about 100 things 2 feet deep. Whether the Pope got run over or, there was an earthquake in whatever country, you needed to be able to go and do it. Now it's much more of, who are you, what's your
What will you say
credibility?
to the client who wants to go start a Substack? Like, who's the Jim Acosta or or the Joyanne
The
Reid?
ones who are allowed to, what I
are
would
allowed to. No. I mean, those who have left
have actually
their
left
network
and gone and
jobs.
done it.
Yes.
Yeah, listen, 100. I would say 100% go do it. Exactly what you said. I mean, you were ahead of the curve in terms of take control of your own fate. It's really hard. I know you're dependent on a guaranteed contract for 3 years. I can't tell you what to do with your finances in your personal life, but I am telling you, while this may be scary for a period of time, if you bet on yourself and you bet on you and you know who you're talking to in your audience, go start a Substack, go start a YouTube. Again, for a journalist, I think it's a little harder because that space is basically for fans. I go to Substack to read who I want to read who has common interests. I go to YouTube to watch people who have common interests. So the biggest challenge I have with clients right now are the ones that are generalists, and how do and where do we market those folks, and what's the best place to do? But yes, 100%, you need to go where the eyeballs are, and I would argue I'm probably a little bit noisier about. Even again, you understand the journalism space. They have complete exclusivity. They don't want you to do anything else, and they're a little.
When you have a contract.
Yeah, when you have they're a little in denial about where the eyeballs are, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, for sure. Amy, what were you saying?
I was just going to add, because I think that question, as a resident, maybe cable gal up here, I don't know, on the programmer side, I think Olivia touched on this, but one of the things that, as we're moving toward this place where cable certainly is a challenged industry and pay TV is a challenged space, one of the things we really focus on, and Olivia's point, like, it's transparency with our clients in addition to our own teams. Like, my team's sitting right here, we talk about it all the time. We know that we're pivoting toward the streaming model, but we're working our hardest to move our clients with us and to be open with that runway together. And we've created some really interesting partnerships out of that as we've brought AMC Plus to market over the last number of years. Really leveraging some of our originals that were on linear, and that's paid dividends for us in terms of those partners actually wanting to stick with us and distribute our streaming products in addition to linear. So, I think there's a lot to be said for how we devote ourselves to like those relationships in the same way we devote ourselves to our teams. Our clients are in many ways, that is part of how we're managing through our
I'll get you
life.
one question. So when you're working between content for cable, content for AMC
Yeah.
Plus, are those different teams, or are your people working across every distribution option? How does that work?
It's a really good question. We now are unified as a team, and my team, because we run actually every part. So if you're, let's take Comcast, for instance, they distribute our linear and our streaming products. That is now one unified team under my team that's managing that portfolio with that client. So on the programming side, we've taken that same approach, and that's created a really nice balance for us in terms of how we speak with our distributors and how we're talking about what's valuable internally from a programming perspective. But I think we're pretty nimble and small, and so I know that that's not a model that, Tana can probably speak to this as well, but that doesn't necessarily work across some of the larger landscape. But for us, that's worked really well because we're we're able to cross share, we're able to figure out, like, some things don't work on linear and they do work on streaming and vice versa. So we're able to create a balance where we're not, taking out of one pocket to put into the other.
Right.
I was just going to add a point to people here that might be earlier in their careers and starting out and trying to figure out a path. This is a little bit of a side dish to this beautiful conversation, very insightful. But what I always found gave me freedom is actually having some financial freedom. Setting aside some money where you can. I know we live in expensive places and that's hard, but that allowed me to thrive in a corporate culture over time where I could be a little more fearless in my decisions. And so, having 6 months to a year, as much as you can, stocked up so you have some freedom. I know that's a really tall order, but strive for that. It'll give you a lot of freedom.
I just want to asterisk that I'm going to try to leave some time for questions. So if you have not yet, but I'm going to try because I think this is a good forum for that, and I think we're all here trying to learn about leadership, and that's what we're here to talk about. Give me sort of what are some of your top, I'd say, values that you tell yourself as an executive leader, and I wonder if there is a difference in how you choose to either run a team, manage up, manage down, versus how you experienced it as you were coming up and, say, the generation before yours.
Oh my gosh, I could, if you want. Okay, so I started at A&E Networks. It was all men. And it was like, people talk about, who were your mentors? I'm like, or who were your female mentors? I'm like, oh my gosh, what, did I have one? I came up, I had great people I worked with. They were all men, so now as higher senior a boss. Okay, yes. I try and be so kind to everybody. I try and be decisive. I try and be you try and make it fun because these are tough times. But making decisions, having them feel comfortable coming to you with hard things to tell you, like be open to it. But definitely mentorship is such a big part. And post-COVID, it still is, our company is still 100% your choice if you want to go remote. So sometimes it's hard to mentor people if they're not in the office. But mentorship is such a big part of what I feel is important for leaders.
Female mentor, please. Female mentor.
Yes, no, exactly. Yes, we need female mentors
But I
for
would
sure.
argue, like, for me, it's more like leading by example as opposed
Yes,
to even direct
yes,
mentorship.
yes.
I'll tell you, I'm laughing because when I started at NBC, and I'm aware this whole thing is on the record, but I know. I started when I was 19. I would not have passed a current events quiz. I needed something to do. I dropped out of college. And I literally looked around, I'm like, I don't want to grow up and be any of these people. Like, so that's the example that I had. Like, I was like,
It was like a negative example.
yeah, like I was like, wait, you just made that decision because you're annoyed at your wife from this morning. Like, you just decided someone's fate. So I was, and then I eventually became enamored with the business and I got into it. But I have the same bar for the people that I work with and the people that I represent. I'm not very good at being filtered, but like, this business is so hard. Like, I need colleagues and clients who the room is rooting for. Because I don't care how good you are, you're going to trip and fall. And you want the room to be willing to pick you back up.
Wait, who's the room?
The room, whether it's your bosses, your
Okay.
peers,
Okay.
you say something bad on TV, something about your
Right.
personal life comes out that
Right.
shouldn't have come out or should never have happened. And the other piece is I'm very open with my clients and the people who work with me, the people that are on the bus. I'm surrounding myself with everybody who's 100 times smarter than I am, and I'm not shy about that. And I'm very keen on I'm aware of what I don't know. And I love the fact that I have a young woman who works with me who's been with me since CAA, who came to me with me when I left. God bless her, she was with me for 6 months and walked into my office and said, I think you're leaving, I want to come with you. Like, that takes guts, right?
Like at Jerry Maguire? Well,
Yeah,
were
yeah.
there goldfish?
I made so many goldfish references, and everyone's
Right.
like, what are you talking about?
Right.
I'm like, have you seen the movie? Right. And she walked to my office and she said, I don't know what's going on, but whatever it is, I want to come with you. And 8 months later, she came with me, and she's with me, and she's the smartest person I know, and I am not shy about it. And right now, I always joke, I'm like, I'm nice to you people because you're going to take care of me when I'm 60 and with a walker. So it's about the people I represent and the people I work with, and making sure they're smarter and better at this than I am.
God, I need to +1 that so bad, like so hard. But I totally agree. I mean, and I think all of us having, yeah, maybe the generation before us, you saw the mediocrity and sort of trying to counteract that with surrounding yourself with better, smarter people than yourself is so important. And really, I think something that I think us as this sort of current leadership generation of females has done a really good job of sort of surrounding yourself with people who will challenge you, and you want to have I can speak for myself, but growing up, through this industry on the TV side, you couldn't be a voice of dissent, and now I welcome that, and Kathy's like, oh yeah, she talks.
In my office, I mean, you've got balls.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
just came in and asked me that.
Yeah, and I think I think you have to have people. Yeah, you want people that will challenge you in a way, and I think that makes you grow as a leader because you learn things that you didn't know, and you're exposed to sort of like verticals in the business and the industry that you can bring that out to clients or internally to your teams, and being able to create that that really smart lens, I think, is really, really important, and probably something a lot of us, like, we're so used to seeing these in our past lives, these men sort of surround themselves with people who make them look better because but I think that you kind of want to work yourself out of a job.
Well, yeah, I mean, my mentors were all men too, but they were wonderful.
Yeah, mine too. I had
Or I had one female. Most of the people who hired me, most of the people except one who gave me a break were men.
I had the same experience, and to speak to that, because it is a big point to me too right now, where it's like, the female piece, the woman piece, the unsort of supported pieces needed to rise. But in my opinion, two wrongs, and I had a lot of great people support me, meant to don't make a right. Right? So it's up to us as women to not exclude the guys. It's not good. Right? So me as a leader, I want everybody at the table. And I want everybody to have a voice at the table. And that actually comes from our head of diversity, Paul Martin, who I respect deeply. And I think it's really important for us to create the next path the way that we would want to be in it. And my feeling, too, about how you are at work is you should be yourself. I don't change who I am on a call versus the way I'm at home. I mean, I'm obviously more professional about it, and I try to dress a little better than I do at home, look a little crazy at home. I don't know if you do the super change as soon as you get through the door. I'm like, boom, boom, boom. But I do think it's really important, like, the more that we're in these experiences, that authentic piece, like, I want to know who you are. I don't want to know your representative. And I think that's a big piece in our business life, too, is to speak truth. You've spent your whole career speaking truth, and it's incredibly admirable. And so that's what I would recommend, is there's going to be changing tides, but the people piece of this matters a lot.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Did any of you guys, we talked about this on the call, like, I grew up when it was don't put pictures of your kids up in the office. You don't want to remind the men that you're a wife and a mother. Oh my God, my kids are in the office. Like, yeah, I'm like, bring your kid. It's crazy.
Be the model.
Yeah, I think we're lucky now that that's less.
very
Yeah,
different.
my kids are little, so I didn't have quite that. But yeah, we were talking earlier. Like, you were still expected to be available, but I think that is.
You've
such
got
a
to
great-
tell the story.
No.
Go ahead, tell them.
Okay, I'll say my part. I'm not sure if you want to share. Sorry, but like I had triplets, and like after like I was supposed to have. I was supposed to be back in the office like 4 months later or something like that. 4 weeks into it, they were sort of like, you have a panel in Pasadena, you have to do it. I went back and I just kept working. I'm a good mom. I'm not a terrible mom, but she had a funny,
Let's bring in the kids and ask them.
No, and I think it's a good lesson in, like, even the next generation. I think they're doing so much better than we are in terms of setting their own boundaries. This is a true story. It is a true. Okay, I can't believe I'm telling this story.
Safe space. You're good. You're good.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay.
No, it's not a bad story.
This was my own. We were talking about the chip you have that continues to drive you forward. I just had one of my children, and she came a little early, and I was like looking at my phone. I'll just say I was at NYU and they have a very good cocktail of epidurals. And I said, oh my God, it's only 12:30. I could make that 2 o'clock meeting. So, preface that I was obviously out to lunch at that point, but I think it's like a good lesson in like, the I will say like the boundary setting and probably, to Spring's point about like, there's many different ways we can sort of like manage our humanity, and that's one where I think to myself, I don't want my team to think that way, so I think that's something I do take, I didn't actually. Oh, I should also say I didn't actually go to the call. Like this was pre-Zoom. This was pre-Zoom. I thought I could get over it.
I want to ask a question because it was in the blurb for this panel, and this is almost like a survey. It was a question about talking about imposter syndrome. Do any of you have this?
I think I'm having it
Oh,
right now.
really?
I'm having it right now.
Really? Oh my God! Oh my God! Come to my house. I'm going to give you therapy. Why?
So let me tell you, I have a therapist now. I'm telling you guys way too much stuff. But I said, I think I'm. There you go. So I said to my therapist, I said, I think I also have imposter syndrome, and he's like, Tana, I have neurosurgeons, male, female, everything. They all have imposter syndrome. Get over it. So yes, we all have imposter syndrome.
Oh.
My executive coach said the same thing to me. He said to me, I have Fortune 500 CEOs that call me in the morning because they can't get out of bed. So, yeah.
I have it, but I just do it anyway. I just ignore it.
Like make it work for you. Like I was so psyched to come on this panel because I was like, these women are so badass. Like you kind of I'm like I don't deserve to be here, but I was like, this is exciting.
Half of my career is just showing up.
Yeah.
Just show up.
Actually, I'll confess, I have the opposite. Actually, imposter syndrome. I mean, because I spent a lot of years as a freelance writer and seeing a lot of people who were not as good as me getting jobs. And I was like, why are they getting the job and I can't get a job? Thank you. I see nodding faces. Thank you. Thank you. What's the opposite of outposter? I don't know. There's honestly, there's so many of us who are talented. You see people just getting, failing upwards. I'm sorry, but, and I'm not even going to say that they're mostly men, even if they are mostly men. They might be. But it's just like it's a bro collegial culture where you are comfortable around the people you're comfortable with, and it's easier than to not have to go out and actually find somebody good who's really good. Okay, I just want to know if other people had outposter versus imposter system. Okay, we're gonna take some. Thank you. We're gonna take some questions. Please make them smart and succinct. I will give up my mic. Let's say Amy. Is it Amy? Lisa Stedman, yeah, right? I remember, because I saw you posting this. Yeah. I'm really not good.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Stedman. Thank you, Sharon. I loved what was presenced here about being able to say you don't know what you don't know. I would also love to hear the flip side of that, which is that ageism in this industry is real. And so how do you own saying I don't know what I don't know without it coming off as I'm a dinosaur?
I think it's to the confidence, right? Yeah. It's like, I always say, especially when IT comes in and stuff, I'm like, just get them in. I don't know how to do any of this, but I think it's confidence. And we all have confidence because we've been in the business long enough. And you have to own the confidence, I think.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, I'm perfectly happy to be educated about what I don't know, but what I can do is I can put into context. Again, the upside, this is where it's tricky with young people, telling them to diversify but be an expert at the same time. That's hard, which is why I don't admire what these guys have to figure out who are much younger than I am. But at the end of the day, it's give me the information, and then now I'm going to take my history and contextualize it for you. By the way, history repeats itself.
It does repeat. I'll also say I think that's part of why we're here, at least for me. It's just be out there. These are new frontiers, right? Things have changed a lot since even 10 years ago. So we need to be out there as examples of, what it looks like.
Hi, Nikki, have a seat here.
Stand up.
Okay, pushed in here. Hi, thank you guys, great panel. Can you guys talk, I'm thinking about Quibi and how that failed miserably, and now it's kind of being restarted with the verticals, but what is the next frontier with that, and how do you guys address that? Because I think right now it's been successful as sort of these telenovela type, over dramatic. Is there a space for, chopping up a really great script and working in that space? And what does that look like? And how do we get ahead of that?
You mean microdramas?
Vertical. I'm talking about vertical content that has some substance. If longer form, chopped up.
Who wants to take
Yeah,
that?
I know. Both of us. Probably.
You could go.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really interesting and something, we have a portfolio of 7 streaming services, so I think there's probably a place for those types of, micro dramas, is that what we're calling? Yeah, so I think it's an interesting vertical, and I think one worth experimenting in. I'm not sure if I can articulate what the long term of that would be, but I do think, it is, I mean, an uncharted, as Spring said it, it's new frontiers. So fragmentation is real. Where people are watching things is real. So we need to be where the viewers are. That's one of our main pillars at AMC. So I think it's an interesting one to continue to watch and see where there's opportunity.
And it's so interesting because I was just thinking of the Quibi people this morning, and I was just like, they're probably just going like, if we could have just, yes. Because microdramas is exactly what they wanted to do, microdramas are here right now for sure. It's a big push. So if anyone here wants to move into the future, I do think microdramas. You're not going to make as much money, but that's not. You could tell great stories in a handful of minutes. Episode after episode. But I was thinking of the Quibi people today for some reason.
Okay, we'll take two more. I understand. Okay, yeah, we have 2 more, and then anybody else in the back? No? Okay, go ahead, Martine. Yeah, Martine, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Martine, and it's a great panel. I have a question about dealing with your bosses. Like, we talk about your relationship to the people who work for you. And I was an executive for a long time in a very big company, and I loved everything you have to say. I think one of the biggest thing was I was always saying I'm an iron hand in a velvet glove. It's a French saying. I don't know if it's in English also. But how have you had conflicts with your boss, and how did you react or address it? I'm very curious.
I mean, I'll jump in. I actually am very lucky to have a very supportive boss. I have a very creative job, and I've had some pretty wild ideas. So I will. Tom Rothman for Sony Pictures, and he's let me do the Spider-Verse soundtracks, and I did the K-pop Demon Hunter creative. So he's just let me go. And which one? Oh, the Beatles. And Anaconda is about to come out, but the Beatles movies as well. So,
Oh my gosh.
So to be, what everybody's trying to do is be closer. Like, music is fast and it's current and it's reactive, and getting movies to be closer to that is hard because the timing doesn't always work. So I've had a good experience because he just lets me do crazy things, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I should have led with this. At AMC, we have our CEO, and most of our C-suite is female-led, which is like such a rarity. Yeah, I know. My boss is also a woman, Kim Keller. She runs the commercial division. She came from ad sales, and so we have very different backgrounds. So I think that has been such a rewarding experience for myself, our teams, because I think I think this has been a theme throughout, but someone who has diversified their background in a big way, coming from, a traditional sales background to running wholesale businesses, much different approach. So, having open dialogue around where we should have independence and where we should work together have been really important for us and our team. And I have to, it's been really wonderful to have leadership really committed to continuing to foster that diversity amongst our leadership team. I don't know if there's any dissent we want to talk about on this panel.
We had one more.
I'm not sure if that's
Did you still have a question? Yeah.
What a powerful panel. I've mentored a lot of young executive females in my career, and one in particular, I remember, super sharp, amazing professional. She always came back to me saying, I don't know, my bosses are always saying that I need to work on my, it was her executive presence. So, and I couldn't understand because I thought she was pretty sharp and put together. So I would love to hear from you. What does that mean to you? And what could that mean coming from a male boss or or someone above? Like, what does that really mean when it's someone that's really sharp?
I don't know. This is my interpretation of it, but I actually had to do some studying on language, on the way that men speak and women speak. And there was this book, I think Deborah Tannen, called You Just Don't Understand. It's an old book, but it's like the same way I'm talking to creative people, everybody has a different cadence, a different tempo. And so for me, when I'm talking to guys, I just keep it shorter and to the point.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I agree. That flexibility, I think, is really important as you're kind of working with many different walks of life. So I don't know, Olivia.
I'm going to pivot the question a bit. The other thing I would say from the mentorship thing is I do think we have an opportunity in 2025. Like, we should be mentoring the young men.
So true.
We have a young man in our office who listen, I'm older, my kids are older. I look at him, it's like working with my kids. Like, I adore this guy. He loves his mother. He tears up when he talks about her. Like, I mean, look at us, we're a bunch of mushes. I know. But like when you talk about executive, I mean, the kid showed up like in a bathing suit, I'm like, dude, you cannot wear that to the office, although I do think it was for fun. But it wasn't really a bathing suit, but I do think, again, not to pivot from your question, but I think it should be said that we have an obligation too, if we see young men, like especially with whatever this crisis is young men are having right now. But I'm not, it's not a joke. I've got 20-year-old boys, like there's a confidence thing, there's all of that. And, again, masculinity does not mean, a certain behavior style. I think it's up to us not only to mentor the young women underneath us, but to also take the opportunity to take young men and show them, what it means to be a good leader.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love that. Anything else? Did you want Tana on that? Yeah. Executive presence. Okay, we'll leave it there. That's a fantastic conversation. Thank you, Olivia, Amy, Tana, April. Amazing.